Well guys, what's up? My name is Riandy Holder, better known as Mr. Ray Bass, and I'm a singing bass player, producer and songwriter, currently living in the Netherlands. How I started playing bass? Well, before I was a musician, I was a very passionate baseball player. I was around 12, 13 years old. Back in the day you had baseball players from Curaçao like Andrew Jones, who were doing a great job in the major leagues, and my dream as a child was to make it to the big leagues. Unfortunately, I got a hamstring injury and I never fully got to recover from it. So I thought it was time for a new hobby, and when I joined our local church on Bonaire, I saw a drummer play drums for the first time, and I was like, I want to do this, man. I want to play music. And shortly after, I bought a guitar from a classmate from school, and I taught myself how to play some guitar. A year later, we moved to the Netherlands because my parents got divorced, and we joined another church in Amsterdam, and they didn't have a bass player. So the keyboard player would patch his keys in the way that he would play the bass with his left hand. And I thought that must be exhausting, and there must be another way. And I kind of volunteered to bring the bass home, because they did have a bass on stage. It was missing the D string. And I fixed it, decided to teach myself how to play bass, and I've been hooked on it ever since. Well, I started making music in church, so I was playing a lot of gospel music or listening to a lot of gospel songs. But when I started, I was about 15 years old, and YouTube came out. Like, suddenly there was this platform where you can discover all this new music. So it really broadened my horizon, and I discovered artists like Maroon 5 and NERD. And I think my first riff really on the bass was Walking on the Moon by Sting and the Police. And I remember thinking to myself, because I was playing by ear, and I was like, man, this riff is pretty easy, but it's so effective. So I started digging a lot into Sting and the Police's music, and that music taught me the different roles of every instrument that I played, because I played drums and the guitar and the bass. And they really became like a go-to artist to figure out what my role is on every instrument. Well, my first performance as Ray Bass, I remember, was at a venue in Amsterdam called P60. And P60 had a thing they called the local night, where local acts from the area would come together, bring all the crowds and entourage together, and we would play for them. And I remember it being a very nice place to experiment with our sounds and new songs. And I played those local nights quite often, sometimes for a lot of people, sometimes even for just 2 people. Can you imagine that? Just a whole venue filled with just 2 people. But it was very humbling, and it was very good to have that experience. And P60 has been crucial in my development as an artist. Well, I just can't imagine my life without music anymore, like without playing. Music has been a crucial part of my development as a person. I've been to so many beautiful places, and I've seen parts of the world that I never thought I would see through music. And my advice to beginning players: man, this instrument, you can do so much on it. You can slap on it, you can play chords, you can play open harmonics. It's like the fun just never ends. And also, a lot of people get intimidated by all this virtuoso stuff they see on YouTube, but don't let that be a hindrance to you. Just create your own style. I mean, I started out not knowing anything and created my own style. Last year, I dropped my first EP called Come to My Island. It's available on all music platforms. And this year I'll also be dropping my first live concert at P60, so you guys can check that out on YouTube soon. So if I could do all this crazy stuff with this instrument, so can you. So what I'm saying is, what are you waiting for? Start playing, man.
understand.